Okay, everybody, we are live, and I'm
Hello,
going to give it a
everybody.
second. This is my guest Igor. I'm going to wait a second here and see if it shows me if there's anybody watching. This is the hard part. I'm still getting used to this. Okay, Vegan Linkat is on. Envision a vegan.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, we do. So we have one person watching. That's okay. It's a slow start. But it's a great start because I still am a new channel, and this series is new. And for anybody who jumps on, I am so thrilled to have my guest Igor, who I have been friends with for actually quite a few years on Facebook. But it's been a few years since we've spoken. Um, we have
Great.
spoken on Facebook. I've followed some of your traveling. You do a lot of that. Um, and
Trying
some
to,
of your
yeah.
escapades. Yeah. Some of your escapades. You're a very active person recently. And we were just talking about this broken thumb. Was it a thumb
Yeah,
or
yeah.
was it?
No, in my case, I think Tom was in your case. Like in my case, I had broken wrists, like both broken, like in
Oh,
left
oh,
and
you
right.
broke your wrist. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Within just this cold season, because still where I live, it's still cold. We still have snow. It's just the temperature is like I say, like about around like 0 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much it's like in Fahrenheit. I'm only guess maybe
That's
it's like
pretty cool.
20. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's the it's ice is melting. I would rather say so. We have like ice and snow still a bit around, and
Yeah.
it's melting. It's not freezing, kind of like that.
So anyway,
Just that.
so this is my friend Igor, and I'm going to give you a second here before I have you introduce yourself. I'm sorry. Before I have
Oh, sure.
earphones in and it disorients me, but um, I want to show. I'm gonna and I'm still learning this. Um, Hold on a second.
Sure.
Share screen, share screen, and here we go. Can you see that?
Um, no. I
And
think I
it
see
see
you. I see
I've always got
myself.
to go. Yeah, I have to
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's
go back
coming.
again.
It's coming.
This is what messes me up. Now
Oh,
can you see
yeah.
that?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
totally
so
see
here
this.
we
I
go.
totally.
This is where you are. You're in Moscow,
Looks so.
Russia.
Looks so. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Kind of like in the west. Like I'm in the west
And
of the
what did we
country.
just say the population we think is? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm
So
sorry.
I do you mean the city or the country?
The city. We were talking about it's like,
Oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So there is no conclusive like data on that. They usually post some. I mean, the government posts usually some outdated and non-informative number of 12 million, but the mayor believes that it's 22 already, 22 plus something around
yeah,
it.
and I
Because a
just
lot of
looked before we came on, and actually it looked like the last time they put a number up, it was around 22 million, but that was in 2012. So yeah, it's been
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
10
So I
years.
don't know even. Yeah, so I don't know even like how many people. So I would guess something like 20 plus million should be for sure because the city is like huge, like first of all to travel around the city, like if you want to say travel from one side to the opposite side, it could take you, like 1.5 hour sometimes. Yeah, like so or 1 hour, 1.5 hour
Because of
by
traffic? Is
public
it?
transport. No. I mean, it's the fastest way. I mean, like 1.5 and 1 hour. It's by the subway. Like if you go like straight, like on the subway. By car, I don't know. Like I think, yeah, definitely. If you go without traffic jams, it also would take you, 1.5, 2 hours maybe to cross the city because in some parts the city is like really long. Kind of thing. It has like radial structure, but I think like several years ago, the city got a big piece of another region. It used to be like Moscow region, but they connected it and called it like New Moscow. almost nobody lives there, but but they call it,
Oh, it's called New
they were
Moscow.
like this. Yeah, they call
So
it New
we're
Moscow, and
actually, for
it's
the people out there, I know that Igor and I have kind of, like, since we started here, we were talking before. So you and I have actually kind of been talking, like, um, actually, I should change that screen. There you go. You and I had kind of
better.
been continuing our conversation, so they're not really privy on everything. So, Igor, what I would like you to do is go ahead and introduce yourself, and tell us about yourself.
Ah, sure.
For example, what kind of, are you involved in any activism? How long have you been vegan? Um, just
Right.
tell us things about yourself.
Yeah, so let me just like tell Jenny like what kind of person I am, and yeah, what kind of activism I
Yeah,
do if I
tell
do
us your
so.
name. Tell us
Yeah,
where you're at. Tell us
yeah.
about yourself.
So definitely, as you said, my name is Igor. I have
Yeah.
I have double surnames. So my surname is Lyubimov-Shootov. It's just a funny thing. Like I had surname Lyubimov, but my wife had surname Shutova, and we both wanted each other's surnames when we got married. So my wife wanted to have my surname. I wanted to have her surname, and they
Is
basically,
that very
they
common?
literally. No, it's not common at all. It happens. It happens. There are precedents in history, kind of thing. And our surnames basically mean that, for example, my original surname, Lyubimov, means that something like, it would literally mean something like a lovely person. And Shutov, or Shutova in case of my wife, it means that you're like a joker, you know, uh, kind of thing, like, yeah, like a joker, because
That's cool.
shoot means like a joker in Russian. So yeah, and so as you see, we just joined our surnames together, and so finally I'm in Russian language I sound like lovely joker, you know.
That's cool. That's actually very cool.
Yeah, they actually, in the registration office, they told us, guys, like, you can change your surname to whatever you want. You just pay us, like government. You just pay and change to whatever. And they said that you can even write Obama, but it was like 20,
Wow.
yeah, it was year 2011, so it was 10 years ago. And Obama was popular then, and I don't know, we liked Obama, but we didn't like his surname to become our surname. So we said like, no, thank you. We are fine. so,
That is
but the
really,
idea was
really
cool.
strange. So you
Yeah,
could
it is
just
strange.
change your surname to anything,
It is in
what,
Russia
when
like
you
this.
get married or at any time?
No. At any time, basically, if you're not lazy and you're ready to do some paperwork, you have some, approximately 10, $20, because this is how much it is. You just go and literally change your
Wow.
name, change your surname, be who you want to be. So, yeah, we do have such freedom, but again, it's connected with paperwork, bureaucracy, and many people are like, man, I don't know, you know. And many people are okay with what they have from the beginning. Yeah. So yeah. So who am I? So I would say I'm an English teacher. So I like doing good things, and I believe in in this concept that you should make this world better than when you came here. So, and that's why I try to do a lot of different activities. So, for example, I became an English teacher because myself, when I was studying at school, I had a lot of problems with my own teachers. So in Russia, there is kind of like popular thing at school or university that teachers are very abusive. So they are unfriendly, abusive, grumpy, and so on and so forth. So they basically, I don't know, maybe because they're very unhappy in their lives and they have micro salary, they try to, show you that you're a loser, like at any time. And at the same time, we have also very uncomfortable and old school system of education in terms of English. So therefore, it's kind of similar to what they have in China or what they have in Italy, for example, or France. And well, as you may know, almost nobody from this country speaks English like really well because it's just not an effective method. 10 years you study, after 10 years you're like, oh, hello, goodbye, maximum. So and that's why
Wow.
I thought like nobody should suffer this way, and I decided to
Yeah.
become a teacher. And also, I would say in terms of personality, yeah, kind of, I think I'm I think I'm a diehard optimist. Kind of think. I also believe that I'm a practical person. At least I try to. Practical and logical. And yeah, and I do like sport. So I love running. I like snowboard, bicycle, skateboards, this type of thing.
Yeah,
But
I've
also
seen you.
talking
You're a
about,
very active person.
yeah, and I don't know. So actually, I'm a very tired person all the time, but like yeah, indeed, because because of my desire to help as maximum as I can, that's why I have a lot of work. So, and for me, it's very difficult to say no. So people ask me like, "Hey, Igor, like, can you help me?" And I'm like, man, I can't say that I have my shame, but yeah, of course I can, you know. And so finally, sometimes I had a usual work week is something like about like from 72 to 84 hours of direct teaching,
Wow.
like face-to-face work. Yeah, so no, actually,
Somebody
like,
actually at somebody asked
mhm.
actually what grade of English teacher, or is it just English in general? What grade?
Look, so I have never cared about grades, to be honest. So,
Yeah, I mean,
but I would say,
I don't know what the system is. I mean, it's different in
yeah. Also,
the
I'm not
UK than
sure
it
that
is in
I
America.
have even, yeah, I'm not sure that I have even like dived into it. So, but I teach general English and I teach also business English. And I would say, yeah, I teach also adults and kids. I think beginning from six. Yeah, yeah, from beginning from six. Sometimes people ask me like earlier ages, for example, to teach, but I always say, you know what, like you better invest into Netflix, for example, speaking with your kid yourself, maybe YouTube, but
Yeah.
and then come back to me because it would be the most optimal for you. You would not waste your money. So yeah, so basically I teach, and mostly I think I teach business English because I don't know, somehow where I live in Moscow, there is big desire for people to learn English for work, and many people want to work in international companies. It actually can be connected, with the thing that Russian economy is doing very poorly with with our president. And the last, I would say, like beginning from 2014, the situation became like really depressive because you maybe all know this story about like Crimean ambitions, annexation, and stuff. And kind of like we had like a lot of response negative. Actually, like many people, no, okay, I would say not many, but like a lot of people didn't want this annexation of Crimea because, well, kind of many people don't care about it, honestly speaking. Crimea is Russian or Crimea is Ukrainian. It's only kind of like mostly ambition of the government. And a lot of people, they feel this, mm, kind of like we have this history education, and it is built on imperialism, like this post pre-Soviet Russia, this like monarchy Russia, and it used to be at that time with Russia. So yeah, but the point is that together with oil prices, it just kind of crashed the Russian economy. And for example, we just can imagine. I think I just like in simple words, before 2014, I could make the same amount of money, but I would be, for example, like in a comfort zone. After 2014, my money in conversion to another currency, say to dollars, to euros, dropped two times. Can you believe? For example,
Wow.
before I wanted to buy an iPhone and I didn't need to think, I would just like, work and like hop on. Want iPhone, go and buy iPhone. Want to go to Britain for holiday, travel 1 month around Britain for all my family. No problem, hop and go and buy and travel. And after 2014, I needed to think double time, to go or not to go, to buy a new iPhone or not to buy a new iPhone. And now in the recent, I think like year, like yeah, because of coronavirus, ruble failed even lower. So now it's like three times of the value, three times. So for example, I make the same amount of money, let's say, but I'm 3 times poorer, you know, and all people in Russia are the same. So of course, if you want
So
to eat, uh,
go ahead. No, no, go ahead. If
yeah,
you want to
so I
eat.
mean, so of course, if you want to eat, and for example, like, it's no problem because say, potato prices of potato grown in Russia are the same in rubles. You want to buy potato, ketchup, I don't know, whatever you want to buy, bread, oil, it's no problem. It's still the same in terms of price. Yeah, like just inflation is going. But let's say if you want something not made in Russia, and a lot of things are not made in Russia, by the way, yeah, it has become like 2, if not 3 times more expensive over the years.
So
So I mean,
how has that affected you being able to be vegan? Has it changed your ability to be
no, no, it has not. No, it has not.
how
I actually
hard
so
or easy is it to be vegan in Russia?
well, I would say, actually, like I'm very simple with food myself, so I'm very minimalistic. I can live on, potato, beans, like, baked beans. I like bread, eating bread, I like pasta. I like pasta with, say,
So do I.
maybe chopped tomatoes, with sauce, something like this, cashew nut sauce or something like this. So, yeah, so I'm pretty minimalistic, so I can live on mostly Russian products. Of course, like, sometimes maybe I want to please myself and I would, once in a half year, maybe I'd go and buy Beyond Meat, make a burger at home. But look, I would say in my case, it hasn't changed anything because my food budget is the same as before, you know.
Yeah.
But actually, I became like we went vegan with all my family, like all three of us, me, my wife, and son. We went vegan 5 years already ago. Yeah, and at that time, 2014 already happened. So, and what's also interesting, really, maybe it's easier to be vegan in such realities because look, what's interesting. In 2014, a lot of different countries put sanctions on Russian oligarchs and Russian government. And
Yeah.
let me also like say that Russian government and Russian oligarchs, they are not Russian people. So, which was really really cool actually that they put the sanctions on those bastards. But unfortunately, these people are total bastards. So they decided they made a campaign saying like, oh, those sanctions are not only on oligarchs. They didn't even say it. They said those sanctions are against Russia. And also, I mean, like if you watch news or something, like say American or Russian or whatever European news, there is very big mistake. For example, in the news, I just want to clarify because very often, people speak about Russian government, and they say, "Oh, Russians chose that," or "Russians did that." It's not reflected. It doesn't reflect any reality because, again, Russian people are not Russian government. Those are two different, absolutely opposite things. You know, so, and government made this campaign to say that those sanctions were against Russia. And people, of course, they said, "Oh shit, like it's all about Russia. People from another countries don't like us. We are not guilty here." Because common people they don't annexate Crimea, for example. It's only like
Yeah.
either government or army, for example, controlled by the government. So the point is, there were anti-sanctions from Russia. And what Russian government did, they blocked some imports. And among those imports, there were European cheeses, of different types. So, for example, Parmesan cheese, like mozzarella, and whatever else. And at that time, people in Russia got so much hooked up on this artisan cheeses because before, in Russia, people ate some, how should I describe it? Like low priced shit cheese, and there were no many experts in Russia of cheese, so there was no strong tradition. Maybe it came from, Soviet Union, and then like this new Russia. So people were, relatively poor, so they didn't go into some luxury cheeses. So, but then by 2010s, I suppose people already, tried the taste of this luxury, expensive cheese, like blue cheese or something. And for them, it was a real hit, when this in 2014, government said like we are not importing anymore this cheese from Europe because like Europe is bad, sanctions against us. So, and I actually at this time I already started, quitting cheese a little bit. And I thought for me it was okay, It's like, no, no cheese. And I remember people were literally crying, complaining to each other because Russia needed to make their own cheese because there were a lot of consumers, and they needed to make it somewhere, uh, deep in the country, in the middle of nowhere, to make these artisan cheeses, And people were like, "Oh no, this like from some who knows nowhere. This cheese will not be like European, and stuff." So for me, I mean, this thing never affected my vegan diet. Though I must say there is one thing which is rather uncomfortable with vegan diet in Russia is that, for example, we have already a lot of different brands which make soy milk, almond milk, whatever milk you can imagine, plant milk. But for example, like they are not as cool, local brands. They are not as cool as I don't know if you have it in the US or not. It's called Elpro.
Um,
Elpro.
no,
Sorry.
but I have heard of it because I know that like UK or I think
Yeah, they do
Iceland,
have
they have it.
probably.
Yeah, but
Yeah, UK for
I
sure they
have
do.
not. Alpro is not a brand here in the United States.
Oh, all right,
But I
all
was
right.
going to ask you, like, you talked about cashews. That's
But
not
it's very
something that
tasty.
grows in Russia, right?
Huh?
That's cashews aren't something that grows in Russia, so that would have to be
Soy, you
imported.
mean? You mean soy?
No, cashews. You mentioned cashews earlier.
No,
So you
cashews
said,
is import. Yeah, but cashews are
yeah,
import, but they
but
usually like I
what
think
I'm
they.
thinking is you're talking about cheeses. If you get cashews
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
that'd be a great market to start artisan vegan cheeses. You know,
Somehow,
because
somehow.
cashew cheeses are awesome.
Awesome. Yes, I know. I absolutely agree with you. I have tried in Europe. How is it? Like, I think it was Camembert. Yeah, cashew Camembert I tried in Europe. So that was
Uh huh.
awesome. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Um, but
It's
somehow in
funny
Russia
because
they don't sell.
you were talking about how simple your diet is. That's when you mentioned the cashews, and I think that like the when I first went vegan years ago, um, I got into raw foods, and I think what's her
All
name,
right.
Victoria Bachenko, Victoria Bachenko, I
Oh,
think
maybe I
is her
don't
name.
know.
Oh,
Maybe.
I might be getting that name completely wrong. I might be picking up somebody else's
How
name
did
that's
you
like a
say? How did you
politician.
say?
But I have Victoria. Her name was Victoria. They were a raw food family. They were a very big raw
Okay.
food family, and supposedly, and I looked into this in Russia and even in Moscow, um, that there are some raw food restaurants were some of the first vegan
Yeah,
restaurants there
yeah,
in
yeah,
Moscow.
yeah.
Moscow,
I'm not
and
sure that they are first, but there are certainly, there is certainly like one or two vegan, raw vegan restaurants. But
mm,
they fall into another category. I would not say that they're like really vegan or something, because look, this raw food is they I think they're a little bit different. So those
they
guys
are, and
they are
that's why I
usually,
fell out of it because they're not necessarily even like vegan. They're not even ethically vegan. It's
yes,
just raw
yes,
foods, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Some
yeah,
of
yeah.
them even aren't even vegan. Some of them still like take royal jelly and honey, um,
Yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
and
that.
they don't
It's all
care
for
very
health
often
reasons.
even.
But what I'm saying is like that was the beginning of my journey. Is that it was in veganism was partly raw foods, and
I think
and
some
from what
people
I
start
understood,
like this.
she
Yeah,
was
I
from
have heard such
yeah,
stories.
and that
Um,
family I believe was from
uh,
Russia. And when I looked at
yeah, it
Russia,
could
I
be.
thought I saw raw food restaurants there. Do you have a lot of raw food, or not raw food? I'm
No,
sorry. Do you have a
not a
lot of
lot, not a
vegan
lot.
restaurants or
Yeah.
options where you're at?
Yeah, look, so we do have like, for example, like, so I would say basically now in every city in Russia you can get vegan, you can find a vegan restaurant like or cafe, for example, so
Yeah.
it's not an issue like at all. Also, yeah, raw vegan, they are like much less unpopular, but they do exist, for example, they do exist in Moscow, they do exist in St. Pete. But majority of, I think, it's something like, I would say 95% are just vegan, and like there would be like the ratio, like, like 5% raw vegan. Because look, first of all, like why, and they're not really popular because again, you see, though they maybe appeal more to general population because there are, for example, look in Russia there is such a thing. I think it has become like really like mass trend or hype or whatever in the last couple of years or something. So let me think what the abbreviation stands for. Healthy lifestyle. Yeah, healthy lifestyle. So there is like an
Yeah.
abbreviation like HLS. Yeah, but in Russian it reads like ZOSH, which means like healthy lifestyle. Yeah, like letter by letter, yeah, like
Okay.
healthy lifestyle. And the people who follow this healthy lifestyle, it's some people criticize it, and some people are total adepts of it. So they are like like almost ambassadors of it. And the point is that yeah, literally like healthy lifestyle. So what you do, you probably do a lot of sport. You're on some kind of like fancy diet. You
So
you know yeah,
people are against a healthy
Instagram.
lifestyle there? They
No, it's
put
like
it down openly?
well, you see, majority of population, I would say they are they don't live healthy lifestyle at all, in Russia. Like so,
Well, that's
but
not just in
many
Russia.
people,
that's
yeah, yeah,
that's
yes,
most.
you're
I mean,
certainly right.
we're a
Yeah,
fast food nation here, so it's not just that. But most people don't
yeah,
openly mock being healthy. They do
yeah. So
there.
I think the situation is probably similar to the US. Yeah, so I think many people sympathize and they want that they can't, you know. And then there are also people who don't want and don't do, and they say, "Oh, you live like too much healthy lifestyle. You're like crazy or something because you talk only about it."
See,
Yeah,
people at least
uh,
aspire to it here, but it's very
inspired.
sad to
Yeah,
hear
people
that
get inspired. Yeah,
they
people get
aspire to
inspired.
it, like that's something they want to do,
Uh,
even if they don't do
oh,
it. It's something they would mock for the most part.
Sure. I think people who mock, they either don't understand or don't know, much, or they just can't, and they how is it, because they can't, they try to mock it to show that they're not too bad, in this situation, that they like, you know per se live as they want, but in reality maybe they want but they can't. I would rather say so.
Well, that makes
Yeah,
me
and so
think of.
this. Mhm.
I was just going to say that makes me think of, like, I'm thinking about people's health, and you recently were hospitalized, right? Why don't we talk about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, oh
Why don't we
sure.
talk about? Tell us about
So
that.
yeah, so well, in my case it was it all started with bad COVID. So I
You got
actually, like
COVID.
I would, yeah, I got COVID. Yeah, I think it was like end of October. Exactly. So when I broke my first left wrist, exactly like a week later, I already got COVID. And the point is that actually, like, I genuinely have asthma. I think it's called like bronchial asthma, something like this. So, and the point is that I was very much afraid to get COVID, and also because of my profession as an English teacher, I have to read all time. I read all time, watch some
Sure.
news.
Yeah.
For example, like almost every day with breakfast, I watch CNBC, for example, and so on and so forth. Nightly news for me, your nightly news for me, it's breakfast news. What's interesting. So, and like all time I read Guardian and stuff. And that's why I was keeping up with COVID, like the trends, the treatment, risks and so on and so forth. And so I didn't want to get COVID at all, at any cost, because I thought that, if I get COVID, things could escalate and be like real bad. So that's why I was wearing, FFP3 respirator, like 3M and stuff. But unfortunately, my wife wasn't taking it seriously, and she basically I asked her to wear a mask, but she was like not active. For example, like she would use metro a lot instead of car, because we have a car. And she also, my wife likes yoga very much. So she does yoga. She's actually like a certified yoga teacher, but generally she works as an actress and performer. And when she went to yoga classes, she went in a mask, came to the gym, like hop, mask down, or for example, like maybe casting, hop, mask down, and of course there are a lot of people who breathe around you. So she got COVID and she had light COVID. So she even at the beginning, she said, oh, I got in the rain, and so maybe I'm just like feeling not really well because, stuff. So basically then she infected me and my son, but in
So
situation with
she
son,
was
it
sick
was
as well. Your whole
very
family was
lightly,
sick.
very lightly. Yeah, very lightly. So she and son, they were very lightly sick, just something like 2 days with some temperature, and mm, I think wife
So
even
they got
didn't have
lucky.
something. Yeah, they got like really lucky, but then they got not really lucky after because how is it called? Then they had post long haul COVID, so in that case they lost sleep. They My wife had headaches for a long time and tiredness, like total fatigue for I think like 1.5, 2 months maybe of fatigue, so even coffee couldn't help her.
Yeah. From
And of
what I
course, when I
understand, it
was in
affects everybody differently. So
exactly, yes, you're so right, yeah. And because I was in the hospital, she had to take care of the kid alone. Because usually we spread activities like 50-50 or as much
had
as,
a
for example, as much as my work allows. I take care of the kid, and so she had to take care of the kid herself. And we also do, by the way, talking about activism, we have 6 cats and 1 dog, and we have strong policy in family that we don't buy our friends. So we only take
sure.
stray cats, stray dogs, or from some activists on Facebook, for example. Um, and so she had to take care of everybody. Fortunately, son has grown up a little bit. He's 7.5 years old, so he can feed cats, he can speak with cats, he can pet cats. He can sleep with them, or they can sleep with him. I don't know how to explain it
So,
better.
but when you were in the hospital, were you able to get vegan food?
No, that's the problem. That was a very big problem. So, yeah. So
See,
let me let me.
I don't think that's only where you're at because I'll tell you what. When I first went
Mhm.
vegan about 15 years ago, and I went to the hospital
Mm,
for the first time in my life for 3 days with my first migraine. I thought I had spinal meningitis. It was so bad.
mm,
Um, they put me on a morphine drip, and I was
hell.
out in the hospital for 3 days.
Oh,
Um,
hell.
and but when I would have to get up and eat, they would bring me, and I told them I was vegan, and they kept bringing me stuff like dairy, and Jello, stuff like that, and I kept telling them I'm vegan, I
Jello.
can't eat this. Yeah, and finally, my boyfriend, luckily, I had a boyfriend at the time that would he brought me like falafel and stuff like that. It was just
Oh,
awful. It was like,
sweet.
how can you not understand that I don't eat this? And I'm in here for 3 days and you're basically starving me. You can't seem to
Yeah.
get this.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
I was
Unfortunately,
lucky I had
sometimes
somebody to bring me food. So what happened? What happened for you?
you you were very lucky. Unfortunately, some people are not compassionate at all in medical system, especially. And also some people don't understand what vegan is all about. Even when you explain, they still don't get it.
Yeah, I told him, I said, I
It
don't consume dairy, I don't consume eggs, I don't consume meat. And they
yeah.
kept giving me milk and they kept giving I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like every
yeah.
morning they kept giving me the same crap and I kept saying, "No, take this back. I don't eat this." Finally, my boyfriend
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
bring me food, you know?
It's really cool. In my situation, things were a bit like even worse. So let me clear it up straight. So look, in situation in COVID in Russia, it's not really good and was not really good at all. We also have a lot of. I mean, if you read statistics, you may also like see that we have very little death count, and it's all total bullshit because the government hides, and there are a lot of documented cases when government hit numbers of deaths. They do it, kind of thing like if you die from COVID and you have the main cause of your death is COVID, then they record you COVID, COVID death. Like, but if you let's say if you die because COVID started, like some thrombosis in you, and you had stroke, or maybe you have diabetes and COVID accelerated your diabetes, you died. So they will record like diabetes or thrombosis or any other
That's
causes. Like
actually
almost
the
tomorrow, it's
opposite of what they say happens here in America. But that's I don't want to go whether that's conspiracy
yeah,
theories
yeah,
or
yeah,
not, but
yeah,
that's actually the opposite of what a lot of people are saying here. And people saying here that people go in with diabetes, get COVID, and they say it was COVID, or instead of them dying of diabetes. And they
yeah, yeah,
keep saying, everybody's saying it's COVID, but it wasn't. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah. You're
who
right.
really
Yeah.
knows? But how did you deal with being? How long were you in the hospital?
So I was in a hospital environment for 2 weeks, and what I wanted to clear up, by the way, is that they don't take in Russia you to hospital if you have COVID unless you're almost dead or dying, something like this. So they take only
Wow.
hardcore patients. Yeah. So if you are choking at home, for example, like it started in me. So first 5 days, I was feeling pretty well. I even was working, and I worked 12 hours every day, and then like at night on the fifth day, I woke up in the morning, like I think at like 5 in the morning or something, and I couldn't breathe. Literally. I couldn't sleep, couldn't breathe. I thought that I was going to die totally. Called to the doctors, and they said, "Oh, we're not going to come to you. The ambulance, we're not going to bring the ambulance to you. You call in the morning to your health center, and doctor will come to you." And I was like, "Man, I'm like dying literally, like." And they said, no, 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 goodbye, and hang up the phone, Then I remember that I also have asthma, called them and told about asthma, and they finally took me. So the point is, first they brought me to a hospital, and it was like makeshift or field hospital, you would rather call it, I suppose. And it was inside of an ice arena. So can you imagine like huge ice arena and instead of ice there are sort of like big
It was
cubicles
inside
with
of
beds,
what?
stuff.
An ice arena?
Ice arena, yeah, huge ice arena in
Wow.
Moscow. Yeah, yeah. So, but when I came there, it looks very depressive. So it looked new, fresh, new, everything, but looks very depressive. So I was like upset
You
very
must have
much.
been really
And
sick to want to go there because I tell you what, I would have wanted to stay home if I were you.
yeah,
But I mean, you
I
must
was
have felt really
feeling,
bad.
yeah, I was feeling really bad. And look, at first when they took me first time, they brought me to simple hospital. Then they told me that my computer tomography was good, and I mean, not so bad, not so bad. I had 20%. 20% damage to my lungs, and they said, you can go home, chill at home, things will be all right. But I think 4 days later, I wasn't feeling better, even worse, and I started coughing with blood a little bit, little amounts. And I just literally like pissed my pants, because I thought like this is how they show in movies, that you are dying, like literally. So I called, they took me there, and I didn't care about anything already. But in this ice arena, so they gave me like computer tomography, and I think maybe like 3 hours later, they came to me and said, "You know what? We think that you have tuberculosis." I was like, "Hell, what?" And they said like, "Yeah." They called a pulmonologist. Yeah, called a pulmonologist, and he said like, "Yeah, probably COVID triggered tuberculosis in you." And
Tuberculosis.
yeah, TB, yeah, tuberculosis. So because
Wow.
they told me, so probably you had a bacteria in you, who knows how many years, but it was inactive. It was inactive, non dangerous for people. And then because of this stuff with immune system got like weak and uncontrollable, and this was the case with my COVID. COVID triggered autoimmune response.
Wow.
Yeah, and so basically my body started killing me. That's why they started giving me a lot of hormones. They started giving me anti-arthritis medication also. Super expensive anti-arthritis medication. I must say also that good thing that in Russia, hospitals are paid from your taxes. So you pay your taxes. It's kind of like, I guess, similar to the UK or Canada, maybe, in a way. So you don't need to pay nothing. I mean, you need an ambulance, they bring you an ambulance. So you don't worry that they will give you like super mega bill for the ambulance. So, and I was staying there in that hospital for 3 days because they wanted to send me then to a specialized tuberculosis hospital where there is a COVID unit. Sorry. But in that hospital, because it was strict corona hospital, makeshift corona hospital, they didn't allow no one to bring you food even. They didn't allow
Yeah,
even your
you
family
can't
to
have
come and
contact
give
with
you food.
anybody, right?
But food, it's strange, like whatever your family brings you bag of
Are
food,
you talking about
it,
like not even in the hospital they can't bring you food?
and
What are you talking about?
that's
I mean,
no. Look, the point is that in the hospital,
because
I
anybody with
told you.
COVID anywhere, they don't let families come in at all.
Well, that
I
makes
mean,
sense.
no matter
That
where
makes
you
sense.
are.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. But look, what doesn't make sense in this situation at all, they didn't allow my family, they didn't allow my wife, or they didn't allow my, like stepfather or mom to bring a bag of food, even to give it to security, and security would come to me. No, it was prohibited, believe it or not.
That's
And
and
yeah,
it's
and
crazy because
even
I think that a lot of them are like we're still worried about like you can get it from contact with cloth or paper
yeah,
or
but if
what.
you have
It's ridiculous.
yeah, but look, it was yeah, but it was in October, and I think still people were worried, yeah, in October. Maybe not already, but I don't know. So, yeah, but the point is that, and I couldn't even order delivery, because in Moscow, any delivery, even by the way, we have vegan delivery specialized, or you can have any possible delivery done, no problem, any restaurant, any supermarket. But it was also prohibited. So 3 days I had to eat what they gave me, and the point is they were given exclusively hardcore animal product, mixed infused food. But of course, because of my ethical stance, I'm mostly like doing the vegan thing because of my ethical stance. Of course, I do care also about environment and my health, but like in my priority list, the ethical thing is the top.
Yeah.
So and so basically, for example, what I could eat basically. So for example, sometimes, so for breakfast, for example, they would bring you something like some I don't know, slices of bread, for example, separately butter,
Yeah.
maybe like apple, and maybe I suppose juice and juice porridge with milk, or exclusively on cow milk porridge,
Hmm.
and maybe some tea, for example. So I would only imagine like this. I would only like eat bread, eat apple,
Hmm.
and drink juice or tea, whatever they had there. That's all.
Yeah, I
So
had
you
the
can
same
get
thing
it like,
happen. They brought me oatmeal one time, thinking they were helping me out, and it was like this has milk in it. Well, first of all, milk itself would have put me in the hospital. I was already in the hospital, but I was like, I don't want to be in a
oh
different
damn,
ward now, you know. But they're bringing me with milk in it, and I'm like, well, I would eat the oatmeal if you just put water in it. Don't need
yeah,
milk in it. But yeah, that's awful.
exactly.
All right. Uh, so
It is
obviously,
awful.
you know what? It sounds like it honestly sounds like what you go through in the hospitals there sounds very similar to what we go through in the hospitals here. And I wouldn't have
Yeah,
any doubt that it's the same way across the world, which is very ironic because you would think that hospitals would be the first on board with understanding nutrition and veganism.
exactly,
But they
exactly.
are absolutely the last. And it's
The last, the
disgusting.
last, the
Yeah,
last
and it's
indeed.
horrible. It's disgusting. And it almost seems like, here's for you conspiracy theorists out there, it almost seems like they want to keep us sick.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, exactly,
they're
exactly,
in the
Stacy. You're
business
so
of
right.
keeping us sick and medicated. And I don't want to talk too much on conspiracy theories. It'll get way too heavy for this conversation. I would like to
Hmm.
bring it back a little bit to some other points. So you're originally from Moscow. Moscow.
Yeah.
So well, you've told us a little bit about what the food is like there. I usually ask what the culture and the food is like. Like right now,
Oh,
like
great.
what's the culture food like? It's like it's meat heavy, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, look, so the point is that if you follow traditional Russian, should say like historical diet, yes, so basically, so basically traditional Russian food from the old age, it was, something like porridge, you know,
Yeah,
or any other grains, grains plus grains and bread. This is what like,
but I figure that's
uh,
because of like what leftover from like the cold War, stuff like that. It's
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
what
It's
our
an
parents
international,
grew.
yeah, international experience, yeah, like all around the
But
world.
I want to hear something a little more cheerful. What's the good side of culture? What's the good
Hmm?
side? I think we all know the dark side. So, what is the good
Uh,
side of the food and culture there?
I don't know, like really look. So the point is that maybe yeah, it's hard to say so, but look, I mean, just generally, for example, like nowadays, I think it kind of started maybe like 10 or 15 years ago. Russian people started experimenting a lot with international food. So basically now I must say that now international food, for example, like look, pizza and sushi, and burgers, they're more popular than any Russian food now. You know, so people like
Was
eat more
pizza not a
sushi,
thing
I think.
before?
No, I think like I until like 15 years ago, sushi were not a thing at all, and burgers were not. No, they were a thing because McDonald's came to us. I think like in some 90s kind of thing, But
Well, that's not a good thing.
um,
That's not a
not a
good
good, not a
thing.
not a good thing, and so health declined. Yeah, but you see again, original Russian food is very meat heavy. Sausage heavy. What else? A lot of eggs, milk, stuff like this, and very very fatty. If you go with traditional Russian food, because it's something like it's something like a borscht soup with a lot of fat and meat, or maybe it's fried rice from Kazakhstan. It's called plov. I think it's from Kazakhstan or something like that, like region.
So you had
And
a lot of root
they
vegetables and animal derived
root veg
products, root vegetables
root vegetables
like
we also
beets
have. So,
and potatoes.
beets.
Yeah,
Beets are very popular. Potatoes are popular. Rice is popular. Bread is popular.
yeah.
So,
So
so
starch
yeah. But
heavy,
again. Mhm.
starch and meat heavy. So,
Yeah,
but
starch, grain, meat heavy. Yeah, traditional food.
but now you say you have imports. Do you guys have fresh vegetables and fruits there at all, or do you import
Oh,
those
all
at
year
all?
round. All year round. So I mean, like you can eat, I don't know, passion fruit all year round. You
But
can
are they
eat.
expensive? Are they affordable? Are you able to get those easily enough?
Well,
Or
I would say they are expensive. I mean, like if you want to buy like passion fruit, expensive. Yeah, or avocado. Yeah, not
well,
very
I don't
cheap
even buy
avocado.
passion fruit.
So yeah,
Avocados, I don't buy those
avocado.
either.
Avocado, I think like you can buy in Moscow avocado for say like one avocado would cost maybe like $1.50. Yeah, $1.50 I think
That's
is
cheaper
is
than
the
here.
price. Oh
They're
really? Yeah, yeah,
expensive
yeah. Of
here, and
course.
They're cheaper.
Yeah.
Cheaper than here in the United States. But I mean,
Oh shit!
but I'm
Like I
saying it's
didn't know about
available
it.
though, right? If people want to be vegan
It
there,
is.
they can still do it.
I think in Moscow many people eat avocado. Avocado is our new normal in Moscow. So avocado is
Well,
in every
you know
shop
why?
almost,
I
except
have an idea
for
why.
pricers. Uh-huh.
I have an
Uh-huh.
idea why. Because if you have
Why?
if they're traditionally fatty diet, and people like
Ah,
are comforted by the fact that avocado is a fatty fruit.
fatty.
You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah. You're right. Makes sense. Makes
It's
sense
one of
for
the
me.
heavier fruits, so that would make sense. But
Yeah.
so
So no problem. No problem with fruits. No problem with nuts. I mean, anything you want. Of course, we
that's
do
great.
have seasonal things. So for example, like watermelon, like say, I think like summer and like autumn, they are like watermelon seasons. Like end of summer, half the mid-summer, to mid-autumn, I think it's watermelon season. So you can buy like watermelon like real cheap, and they are
Yeah.
very, very sweety, like a candy, kind of thing. So people love them. Everybody buys, So yeah, I would say kiwi no problem to get. So kiwi fruit. I think we
Oh
have
wow.
all fruit. Grapes all year round. I mean, like of course imported, but grapes you can buy any type of grapes in Moscow. But I see again like you should distinguish because, for example, like say Moscow and the rest of the country, they are very different. Because look, for example, mm,
Sure.
average
I mean,
salary. I'll
Russia's
just
a huge country, so I understand that. So,
Yeah, yeah, and in terms of
obviously you're not going to know
income,
how it is everywhere.
no, I mean, we do know something, but I mean, in terms of income, I just like look, I want to explain better, like for the listeners, so for the people who watch, for the audience. That for example, like if you live in Moscow, minimum, not minimum, sorry, average salary is something like 50 or 60K, and in dollars it would be approximately 900, $800 in Moscow. Um, average salary, um, kind of thing. But it's already look. But the point is, we don't pay taxes like you do in the US. So it's already final money. So what you get on hands. I mean, so for example, like 900 or one yeah, like $900. It will be everything after taxes. So gross salary, I suppose you would call it. Yeah, like something like
Okay.
this.
Okay.
So you don't tell the pre-taxation salary in Russia. So you usually like your final cash on hand,
Yeah.
you say. Yeah, and for example, if you talk about like the other places around Russia, small cities, not say like something like St. Petersburg, but like smaller ones, for example, not where is not 1 million, but let's say maybe like 500,000 people, like 50K people. A salary there could be, something like normal salary for those regions or mini like cities, towns, could be something like 15,000 rubles or 17,000 rubles, which would translate into dollars. I think it would be like $200. Yeah, $200. Can you imagine salary of $200?
Per how long?
Month, month,
Per
monthly
month.
salary.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so in Moscow, average salary in Moscow is $900 approximately. Average salary is in the regions. It's like $200 a month, and you need to survive somehow for this money. And you know what? I can tell you. So prices, we do have like similar prices to what you have. Maybe like
So your
accommodation
salary is
would be
lower,
cheaper.
but your prices are the same.
Yeah,
Is
the
that what you're
prices are the
saying?
same. In terms of food prices, they
Wow.
are the same. Transportation prices would be like cheaper, really cheaper. Say if you want to use subway, well, real cheaper. For example, like one ride on the subway in Moscow, for example, would cost you something like about 50 cents, 50, 60 cents one ride, whatever distance you take, like wherever you want to go. Uh, yeah, so I mean, it's cheaper, and accommodation in big
Yeah.
cities is a bit cheaper than you have in the US, kind of thing. So it's not like it's not like California or something. No, it's cheaper, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but again, for example, like iPhones cost. Um, I don't know. Look, for example, like if you want to buy an iPhone in the US, yeah, like you see the price, say for example, 1K, yeah, like
I don't really
900,
care about that. I
No,
don't
no, no.
buy
I'm
iPhones.
just,
I mean, I
no, no.
have an
I'm just.
iPhone, but it's given to me. That's the only reason I have one. So
Oh,
my
that's good. No,
roommate
I mean,
keeps up
just,
with that, and he gives me his old ones. So,
oh, that's cool.
but
No, I
basically,
mean,
it
mhm,
sounds
when you
like
see prices, I mean,
it's kind of the same as, like, for example, when I go to Mexico, transportation and food is extremely cheap, like dirt cheap,
yeah, yeah,
like compared to the
no,
United States. Um,
yeah, yeah,
but everything else, like clothing, electronics, stuff like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
is like the same price as I would pay in the United
Same,
States.
same,
Yeah,
same,
but
same. Clothing,
the essentials to live on, they keep a lot cheaper, or at lower, compared to which is more compatible with what people make. It's
yeah,
but
you're right.
in the States, obviously, we take things for granted. Not everybody is rich here, or even middle class here,
I know,
but um,
I know.
but it's expensive to us too. But it's even more expensive to people like yourself. It sounds like yourself, or in people like Mexico, to buy. Those are not essentials. Mainly, I'm more
Yeah,
concerned, like,
yeah.
is it possible to live vegan though?
It,
At
it, it it is possible. It is possible
Yeah,
everywhere. It depends on your, though it depends on your, I think like food understanding level. I mean, like if you know how to cook potato, if you know how to eat bread.
yeah. Well,
So like,
that's
man,
another thing. You
what do you
find a
want?
lot of vegans in the United States that are like, it's too expensive to be vegan. It's like, well, no, not if you cook. And I
Of course.
understand it might be a pain to cook, but Americans, we get so lazy with McDonald's and all the fast food, and all that stuff like that, that
In Moscow the
we're like,
same.
cook? What are you talking about? It's like, well, it's cheap. Veganism is not expensive if you learn
Absolutely.
how to
I even
cook.
can. Yeah, I can even tell you. You know what? Like, I had been cooking for a long, long time. So I think I started like deeply seriously cooking, I think maybe like about like 6.5 years ago when we traveled with my family to the UK. And I don't know, somehow, we like got, I got like really, really inspired with Jamie Oliver, and like we went to his restaurant. I got like really, really inspired. And I don't know what Jamie Oliver is doing now, because like since we went vegan, I kind of switched away from him. But he used to have like really, and I think he still has like a big and serious channel where he teaches people how to cook at home, how to cook
Who is
themselves, not
that?
to go.
I'm sorry. Say
Jamie
that.
Oliver,
Who's that?
Jamie Oliver,
Oh, Jamie
Jamie
Oliver.
Oliver. Yeah, 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 Jamie Oliver. So I mean, in this case, like some respect to him, obviously, because he teaches
I
people
know
how
he's
to cook at
popular over on
home.
that side of the world, but
Yeah, 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 exactly. So, and with him, I got like real motivation to cook, to cook myself and start cooking at home. But then after some time, I think after like a year and a half, we switched to vegan with my family. And I have comparison, I can't say that like, we don't eat in restaurants all the time. We don't like with my family this stuff. We prefer cooking ourselves and eating because it's A, cheaper, and B, it's sometimes even faster. And like C, you have bigger portion. I hate restaurants because you come to restaurant, usually they give you like micro portion and you're
I
really
know
hungry.
I feel ripped off
Yeah.
every time. Every
Ripped
time
off.
I'm like,
Yeah, and
half the
you're right.
price I could make a whole week's worth of meals for this, and I always feel
Yes,
bad about
yes.
when I pay to go out to
Yeah,
eat.
yeah, exactly.
Plus, it would
So
have
I
tasted better
know.
half the time. Sometimes, I
Yeah, yeah.
understand though, because lately I've been eating out because I'm just like been busy, tired, whatever, and you
Oh,
want to do
sure,
that, or
sure.
you want comfort food. But when it gets down to it, I mean, that's just a matter of like discipline for me. I mean, people just But when they try to argue that, oh, it's too expensive to be vegan, really, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's just a matter of like
It's not at all.
where your
I,
priorities
I, I
are.
even Yeah, I even want to say that, like, look, before we moved to vegan, we used to be something like, what would you call it? Like, we didn't go from vegetarian. We skipped this thing vegetarian because we thought it
Oh
was kind
yeah,
of like bullshit, at all.
good for
So
you.
yeah, really, and at that time we were something like pescatarian. Yeah, pescatarian with a heavy, push on dairy, everything, and on eggs. So we were going, into something like less dead animals, for example, because of my wife, and she was like, like all time saying something like, oh, there's not these animals, they cry there, they're poor. And actually, what's the terrible thing? I was such a like a badass because I grew up in a family, where there was a meat cult, indeed, like real meat cult. So, for example, my parents taught me to eat meat 3 times a day. Sometimes we even
Sure.
didn't eat bread with sausage. Sometimes like you eat salami without bread. Like can you imagine like sandwich with salami but without bread? Like just salami
What? It's a
on salami.
conspiracy.
It's
I'm
like that.
telling you,
Yeah, yeah.
conspiracy
So
all
this
across the
was
world to like condition us to eat meat.
I think yes. First of all, my grandma, I think, conditioned my mom to eat meat, like from the
Sure, I mean it's
childhood,
a
and then also
generational thing. It's been going on for decades or generations. But that's the funny thing
yeah,
is that
yeah,
we're
yeah,
so
indeed,
deeply conditioned to this that it people think it's insane. They're like, we've been doing it for generations. Well, they've been doing a lot of bad things for generations. It
yeah,
doesn't mean
yeah.
it's
You are
right.
so yeah, you are so right. And also in my family there was such a thing like how is it called? Like they had this idea that I think because they grew up in Soviet Union, and in Soviet Union there was like communism, with socialism, and so people didn't have, very luxury life unless they were working hardcore for Communist Party or something. So majority of people were like living very much in a humble way. And like eating meat, like or some salmon or something, was associated with some kind of like luxury lifestyle, and so like if you wanted to break out from your middle class or poor people caste, kind of thing, so you needed to eat like more meat, or maybe like eat salmon or something, or maybe caviar. Yeah, caviar, by the way. It was kind of like it gave some elitist feeling to people, and so my parents,
Oh yeah,
they wanted
I
to
find
step
that
up kind of,
across every culture, though. I find that across every culture.
Exactly,
It's
exactly.
it's elitist.
Unfortunately,
Actually, it makes you feel like you're doing better if you're eeating some kind of animal product.
because it's expensive. No, because I think because it's expensive, and everything what is expensive just gives people this feeling of elitism, and so they jump at it. And
Yeah,
and because I was grown in such family, actually, what's interesting? I learned about broccoli when I was 18 years old. I didn't know before
you learned about what?
about broccoli. That broccoli existed. You
Broccoli.
know, existed. I learned that broccoli existed when I was 18 years old. Now I'm 32. So
Wow.
it was yeah, crazy stuff, right? But I had known about cauliflower. Yeah, so I was a heavy eater of cauliflower, since childhood. So, but the point is, and because of this, upbringings, and then, also before I met my wife, when I was studying at the university after first year, I took gap year and I went to India for half year. So I worked a bit, like made a bit of money, and went to India for half year because I couldn't understand what I really wanted to do in my life. I had some doubts, I was thinking maybe about starting some business in India. So finally, I ended up like about like 3 weeks I stayed in Goa, and at that time Goa was really good. It was still there was rave, there were parties, stuff like that. And then I met an Indian guy from the north, from the Himalaya mountains. And he was like, man, like I want to open a restaurant. Do you want to make me a company? And so I went with him from the south to the north. And then where he lived, it was kind of like popular with tourist destination, but it was also, like a village in India. So there were like a lot of cows around, and because it was a village, they didn't eat meat, they were like vegetarian there. So basically 5 months I almost didn't eat meat, but I really, really wanted, by the way. And so I think there were like only two moments when I ate some meat. Like once I ate like fish, and another time I ate chicken. No, there was a third moment when I ate sausage made out of, I think it was kind of like a blood pudding made out of goat blood. Nowadays, to me, it sounds creepy, creepy, crazy, you know? At that
That's
time, it
sweet.
was totally normal because I had this mindset. And then, like, for all this time, I mostly ate like vegetarian. I fell in love with beans. I fell in love with bread, you know. And they also have this dish in India. It's called like sabji. I think it's some kind of like veggie stew. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
understood that it was like really, really tasty, really, really tasty. And also what's interesting, I had issues with weight. So when I was a teenager, because of my family's lifestyle and diet, I became like really, really obese. So for example, now I'm,
Really?
sin-
You would
yeah,
not
yeah.
be able to tell that from you now. You are a very lean, very in
I
shape person.
I have even stretch marks to prove it. So
Wow.
that's how I
You're
would
a very
say.
lean
So
person and it suits your frame. It suits you're very tall, seems. I mean, I don't know, I haven't met you in
mm,
person, but just seeing pictures of you or videos of you, you seem to be tall and lean and in shape. I can't imagine you
I
being
try I try my
overweight.
best. Yeah, but
Yeah.
indeed I for example now my weight is
So that
something like 70 to 75 kilograms.
so
70
that
to
that brings me
75
to a
ki
question though. When you went vegan,
Mhm.
being brought up like this, when you went vegan, do you have any family that's now vegan, or how did they feel about
Nobody
when you
at
went
that
vegan? How
time
did they handle that?
at that time nobody at that time nobody.
Hmm.
But when I went vegan, so I think me and my wife and son, we were the first people to go vegan, and by now still the only. So because the
But how
others,
do they accept? Because now you, your wife, and your son are all vegan, right? So how do the families
they
accept that
were
now?
anti,
Are they
they were
okay?
anti-vegan. They were anti-vegan.
They're
They thought
very
that it was.
anti.
They were very anti-vegan. They said that it was bullshit, and whatever else. And they said that they were very worried about sun. But you know what? I did very big research, so I also like to get confirmation. I also went to nhs.co.uk, so health health service, British Health Service, and they on their page they write about vegans, and they say that like it's totally fine for all ages unless you eat balanced vegan diet, and they like point by point, they go into how balanced vegan diet should look like. So they recommend eating grains, beans.
So you show that your
Uh,
family? Did you show that to them?
Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, my mom, stepdad, and granny, they don't read English. They don't speak English, and they don't want because
But I mean, how do they
they
feel now? Have you explained this to them? How do they feel now after you've been vegan for a while, doing fine? And
they accepted they accepted it, and mostly they accepted it because they are all very unhealthy. So as you may guess, they are all
I think
obese,
that's a
in my
universal thing
opinion.
for a lot of us vegans too. See, this is the thing about this
Yeah.
series. Is I find where when I talk to people in other countries, even far across the world for me. It
Yeah,
all
yeah.
comes down to the same thing for us. It's the same in all our cultures fundamentally. We have unhealthy families. They all brought us up in the same, mind frame, the same conditioning. They all are conditioned the same way. Generations. It's. We have so much in common when it comes to that. It's
Indeed.
unfortunate. Somebody wanted to know how many vegans do you know? Do you know a lot of vegans in Moscow, in Russia? Not just know you travel, and I know you're on Facebook and
Mm,
you know me, for example, but how many vegans do you
yeah.
know where you live? Do you have a community?
Well, I think there is a community. I just, I'm such a lazy vegan that I don't participate in the community things. Maybe I'm not just lazy. Maybe it's just because of my work. I can't concentrate on anything else seriously.
You're
But
a bit.
like,
You're
yeah, I
not
said
lazy.
it.
You're just isolated, is what you're trying to say. You're just. I
Yeah,
mean, a
yeah,
bit
yeah, yeah,
isolated in
yeah,
your own world of what you're doing with your
yeah,
family.
yeah. You're
But
right.
so
Yeah,
you,
you're
you
right.
don't have many vegan friends.
Look, so I have my family, and I have also some students who went vegan after talking with me. You know, I think it's maybe like I don't remember. I think
So
like minimum 2 or 3.
So is that kind of your bit of activism? Is you like talk to your students about
Yeah, yeah,
veganism, and
yeah,
that's your
sure.
your form of activism, really?
Yeah,
I
indeed,
mean, that's
indeed.
important.
Yeah, so
That's important. You're saying you're spreading the message somehow, and that is through what you do, and you spread that to
yeah,
to your students, and that's important.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
activism.
yeah. You're right. So when I went vegan, I think I was maybe more active. And then I understood, that like because I used to talk more about it, and like share more stuff, but I noticed that people were not so much interested, And then I decided to change my, approach to it. So I started not dropping it like all the way around, but like, for example, I understood that like, it's better maybe to go on the logical side. For example, every time we talk about food, because I don't like cooking. I like eating, but I cook every day because my wife doesn't like cooking. So, and son can't cook hot stuff because he's young. We're afraid that he can burn himself. So, and that's why very often, I talk with people around, or my students. I talk about food, and of course, well, if I cook a lot of different vegan dishes or veganized dishes, so I tell the story, and like people find it very interesting, appetizing, and stuff. So, and people, of course, start asking me some questions like, "Oh, but how do you get like vegan meat, for example? How do you get vegan butter, for example? So to say." And of course, I'm always like, "Oh, or for example, in Russia we have strong tradition of eating glazed cheese." And for example, there are a lot of little brands which make vegan glazed cheese, and even like one big brand started making vegan glazed cheese, I think like a year ago. So you can find it like in many places, and people also like, how do you eat this? Like, is it the real thing? And I'm like, yep, that's the really tasty thing. Like, it tastes kind of similar, or maybe 95% similar. But for example, you don't have to kill an animal for that, or nobody cries, or for example, like it's also good for environment, stuff like this. So, and through those conversations, people get interested because they find out what's up. I also like sharing on my social media sometimes some recipes. Maybe if I go to a
Well,
restaurant
I've also
once
seen
in a
on your
while.
social media that you share ethical posts like about the animals. I've seen that you've done that.
From time to time, yeah, from time
Your
to time,
student and your students, do they see that? They see that and ask
of course.
questions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
That's
I would
great.
say all my students, they follow me on some social media, like whether it's Instagram or Facebook,
Well,
like
they'll
so.
watch this. You can share this, and they can watch it.
Yeah, so I try to do a little bit like of influencing also, and I also, because I like doing sport, I so also sometimes like I can share some, some difficult sport activity or long run with
So let me
some
let me
hashtag.
ask you.
Yeah,
Let me ask you, Igor.
yeah.
What made you and your wife become vegan? What was it that made you become?
Look, I think in the case of my wife, I think it was like long way, So as I said, she always wanted to stop eating animals, but there was a lot of like social pressure, and I was a badass. So as I said, like in India, for example, I didn't eat animals much, almost not. But I didn't have understanding of it. So when I once I came back to Moscow, at that time I was living with my parents. They started feeding me back again with lard, with bacon at night. By the way, when I was in India, my weight stabilized. I didn't need to follow strict diet because when I was a teenager at the age of like 14, I understood that I couldn't live so overweight. I had basically, look, I had plus 30 kilograms, believe it or not, plus 30 kilograms on my shoulders of fat, for example. So
So it was
and
basically when you started to become healthier and leaner that you started to make the connection, or is that what you're saying?
no, I was not making
Oh,
connection.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sometimes sometimes it's
Go ahead.
sometimes it's hard to make logical connection. So unfortunately I didn't make any connection between it. But now, as a hindsight, I can analyze and understand. Like, damn, when I was living in India, I didn't follow any diet, to minimize my weight. I just dropped down
Sure.
any diets, calorie
Okay.
restrictions, and I was eating just like vegetarian food, mostly beans and bread, and rice. And I got in shape like I am now. So minus 30 kilograms. And I didn't need to support it with any calorie restriction at all. But again, when I came back, it relapsed all back. I gained weight again, then I lost weight with hardcore calorie restriction. And then I met my wife. And throughout the years, like living together, my wife, she wanted to give up like eating animals, maybe even animal products in some way, like
And
milk,
why
I
did
would
she
say.
want to?
Because she loves animals. Because she
So
loves
she
animals,
made
and
the
she was
ethical connection first, is
She
what
made,
you're
yeah,
saying.
definitely. She made it first, and she made total ethical connection first.
Okay.
And she didn't want to harm animals. And she didn't know so much about it as we know now, but she didn't want to harm them. She didn't want to hurt them, and she didn't want to pay money for
Okay.
hurting animals at all. And I was like real badass. I was like, my last name is Lucy, and I was like, Lucy, come on. Don't be such a bad. Like, come on, let's see some chicken wings, let's see some shrimps. Come on, maybe some, I don't know, meatballs with eggs inside. So,
What
now
made
I
you give
understand.
in?
Yeah, and now I understand that it was like so horrible. Like she really wanted, and I all time like convinced her not to, you know. And I'm so sad about it at the moment because I think like damn is like what was I thinking about? What the
Yeah.
was I? Yeah, and then when we totally switched, I also want to tell you interesting thing that like when we switched, I still on this like pescatarian diet, I still needed to follow calorie restrictions, because I have problem with weight. So if I start overeating, for example, like it's just maybe like question of like 3 or 5 days of overeating, I started like uh bulking up some fat, all around. Um, Unfortunately, so maybe slow metabolism. I don't know what the hell. Maybe problems with control, because I also when I eat, I very often overeat, and until I overeat, I am not happy. So,
Yeah.
and I think my parents spoiled me greatly. But when we switched to veganism, I also was surprised because I stopped doing any calorie restriction. And I even on top of it, I lost 10 kilograms without changing my lifestyle. I didn't change my size, so I stayed the same, you know. But what's interesting, minus 10 kilograms. I was like, what? Like, how
Yeah.
come this happens, you know? So, and then I
Yeah.
started, like, I also at that time I read in The Economist, yeah, in The Economist, you know, an article about, they called it back then, they called it slim, slim fat syndrome, something like this, you know, that there are some, like, and there were some, like, scientists, you know, commenting on that, doctors, that there are some people who look really slim and, you know, like really slim, like skinny even. But then, for example, they start having diabetes. They go to the doctor checks them, they do some tests, they get, like, you know, ultrasound, and they find out that, like, fat grows not outside, but fat grows all around their organs inside, you know, and therefore they start having diabetes, you know, or some heart issues, because they have, like, let's say, very unhealthy lifestyle, but, you know, not outside. Outside you don't see, all
I mean,
inside.
people that have healthy lifestyles can still be skinny. I mean, there's people who are alcoholics or live off of Coca Cola,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
it,
yeah.
it, or heroin addicts. They can be skinny, and all they do is eat chocolate. Knew them. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like a bit of propaganda to me. As far as
No.
diabetes, that has to do with, yeah, consumption.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's really weird. But I want to ask
Yeah,
you
but I
though.
mean,
Somebody did.
yeah. Mhm.
I'm sorry. I want to move on to something I want to ask you. But
Sure.
what do people in Russia in general feel about animal rights? How do they view animal rights? I mean, do you have animal rights activism there? And like somebody asked way earlier in the conversation, which was way too early a question. I'm sorry, but can you just hand out information and leaflets and flyers on the street? Can you do activism there?
Look, so let me maybe give you a bigger picture of it. Like, so not only how people view acting, but also how people view vegans, you know. And the situation has changed greatly. So, look, first I met a vegan in my life, you know. It was back in, I would say, year 2005. So it's already, I think, like 16 years past, you know. But at
Yeah,
that time,
that's a year before I went vegan. I didn't meet vegans until years after I went vegan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and that person, you know, who I met, he was from St. Petersburg, and he, at that time, I don't know what's up with him now. I haven't met him, and I didn't get in contact with him, unfortunately. So, but the point was that he was a friend of my girlfriend at the time, and he played hardcore music in a band in St. Pete, you know, and so he was straight edge and vegan, like all together. Now I am straight edge and vegan myself. So, but when I met him, you know, I didn't have close contact with him, so basically I saw him, you know, like one or two times, like very, very briefly. And at the same time, you know, the internet didn't work as it works now, you know. So there were no social media series, social media. There was live journal, there was some, I don't know, like chat rooms, forums, what else. So I mean, like, the ability to get the information was, you know, almost like super duper limited. So, and also what I heard about this guy, I think my girlfriend at the time, she said that, like, he had some problems with health because he was vegan and he was not taking vitamins, and he started losing some hair or something. So you can imagine, you know, for me this picture looked like really creepy, you know, guy who doesn't eat meat, and I eat meat 3 times a day, you know, who is losing his hair, you know, and generally doing unwell because he's not taking vitamins and not getting enough vitamins. So I was creeped out. And then, you know, when I went vegan myself, you also asked, I think I didn't answer it to you, fortunately. So the point is, my wife went slowly moved to vegan herself, but in my case, there was a trigger. And I think it was, you know, with one of my students, she told me, I think maybe a year prior to going vegan, she told me, you know what, Igor, like I have watched like a really interesting film. I want to recommend you. And she told me that the film was called Earthlings, you know. And she said,
So you have
super.
films like Earthlings and Forks Over Knives and What the Health and stuff like that
Of
in
course, yeah, of
Russia.
course. I mean, like,
Yeah, of
yeah, of
course.
course. I mean,
Okay.
like, if you, especially at that time, if you spoke English, so you could have no issues to watch it.
Yeah,
Then
sure.
they translate it into Russian. I actually, by the way, I bought a book, Forks of Knives, for my granny, for my mom. It seems to me that they didn't read well, so unfortunately. But the point is that how is it? I've lost my train of thoughts a bit. So yeah, and I kind of like didn't take it seriously. I thought, okay, maybe I would add it to my watch list. Would watch it like one day. Because sometimes like people recommend you and you think, okay, I will watch it one day, and you never watch because you forget about it. But then I think maybe like 3 months later, something like 4 months later, I was like scrolling through my news feed, on I think like on Instagram or something. And at that time, I already was following Cat 1D. Like you probably know Cat 1D, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
She lives in
So
Indiana
yeah.
now, right near me. She lives very
All
near me now.
right. All right. Yeah. So now
Just
I
bought a
now I
house
would
there.
say yeah, now yeah, beautiful house. I wish I could live in such a house. But now, yeah, of course, maybe there are some like
I
controversies
think I'm
around.
probably wearing some Kat Von D makeup, as a matter of fact.
My wife likes Kat Von D makeup actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm
So
probably wearing some of it. It's mixed in there somewhere. It's probably
good
part
makeup,
of
yeah.
my
If I
makeup.
if I wasn't lazy, I would wear this makeup myself. Uh,
So all right, so
but yeah,
so so how do they feel about animal rights there? So tell us.
yeah. So see, there is some evolution. So you see, like again, as I said, like I was reading Kat Von D post, and she was like, man, like you get to watch this documentary, Earthlings. I was like, wow, hold on a sec. Like, I had my student who recommended me this film, then Kat Von D recommended this film, and it's about animal rights, and like what happens with animals. I was like, actually, I always had some interest to know what happens with animals, but there is so much advertising on TV which says like, oh, cows are happy to give milk, pigs are happy to become your
Sure.
sausage. I was like, maybe it's all bullshit. Hold on a sec, let me check. So, and I watched it when I was like, oh, I was like so much horrified. So after that, I had no questions to go vegan or not to go vegan. For me, there was just only one question about health. Again, I double checked, and when I understood that no, it's not dangerous, it's okay, and maybe potentially it could be even healthier depending on your diet, I was like, yeah, sure, no questions, no more. Like, no more stupid questions, just go in. But look, again, when I went vegan with my family, at that time it was not popular in Russia, 5 years ago. And I think there was maybe like even only one or two restaurants in Moscow where you could eat vegan, you know. And people like literally didn't know anything about it. So people were like, what vegan? What does that mean? So for example, nowadays people know clearly what vegan is. For example, now you go to a supermarket, and for example, they would have maybe even like if it's a big chain, like we have
We have
big
a
French
section.
chain. Yeah, we have, for example, like
Yeah.
big how the supermarket chain is called Ashan. I think like in your case, the analog would be something like Walmart, per se.
Okay.
And like you have like whole section like vegan stuff, and so
Hmm.
you buy like vegan salami, you buy sausages and like cheese or whatever, like some
So it's
curd.
easily accessible now. You have all those
really
alternatives and stuff.
really easily, yeah. And in shops they even mark, for example, like if it's their own production, for example, per
Sure.
se,
You got
they
your own
would.
places, yeah.
Yeah, they're not even their place. They even on the pack they would write vegan, suitable for vegans. And so
Yeah. The
people,
market themselves, the local market has their own line of it, is what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah.
That would be
That's
like
right.
Kroger
So
where I live.
Yeah, even you know what, like I mean, for example, like until recently, let's say if you wanted to buy cosmetics, you know, like let's say maybe like shampoo or face cream, you know, I don't know, like toothpaste, and you wanted it vegan, you either would go to specialized shop, you know, for example, or you go to some brand like Lush. Do you have Lush in the US?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes, we have
So,
that.
though not it's not all vegan, you know, but like they have a lot of vegan options, so you certainly can find for
Sure.
you vegan, no problem at Lush. Yeah, and for example, like now it has become even so much marketed that, for example, like my wife recently bought, just I think like a couple of weeks ago, she bought. I don't know if you have this brand also. Like it's funny that we all around the world there are like some brands non-existent, or some brands they have different names, you know, across the countries. So in our case, it's called like with French name Garnier. I suppose Garnier. Do you have Garnier brand? Garnier, like
Garnier.
shampoo. Yeah, Garnier.
Yeah, it's a French. Yeah, well, it's a French
Yeah,
pronunciation.
whatever. Yeah,
Garnier.
French
Yeah,
stuff. Garnier, yeah.
yeah.
And so we have it too. And so my wife like brought from a simple supermarket, you know, no specialized in vegan stuff, nothing at all. She brought two bottles, like one was shampoo and one was like, you know, conditioner, hair conditioner, I think. And it's written like vegan on them, like just like on the front side, you know, like big like vegan. You know, it's not like you
Awesome.
need to go to the website and like search for little
They
logo, you
made
know,
sure you
like
knew.
yeah, exactly, from
That's
just
awesome.
straight from the shelf. You know, you look at it and you're like
Well,
vegan. Like
that's a great sign that it's showing that it's very
it
acceptable to
is.
say, "Hey, this is vegan."
Yeah,
So somebody
it is.
somebody wanted to ask. They said, "Do a lot of people still wear fur in Russia, or do are people changing their views on wearing animals? Do you have synthetic,
Oh,
synthetic furs and leathers and stuff like that?"
good question. Really good question. Yeah. So unfortunately, we still do have fur. We have
That
fur
yeah,
farms.
sure.
Activists are fighting with these fur farms because, well,
So
I
you
guess like
do
if
have
you actually
activism
want,
there. They're fighting
we
against
do
fur
have
farms.
we do have
Okay.
acting. There are some people who fight with fur farms. Actually, you
Have
see,
you
like
thought
if you
about
answer the
getting
question,
involved in that?
yeah, I have thought. So let me maybe just address the question like the
Sure.
person asked, so we don't get away
Sure.
with that nonsense. So yeah, the point is that so we I think like all around the world we are moving to the sustainable, you know, fashion and like compassionate fashion. So yeah, I would say majority of people who wear something winter, you know, they don't wear fur at all. You know, so majority of people they do wear uh, something else except fur, usually synthetics. I think majority of people wear synthetics, but some people who want to show off, you know, and for example, they want to make a statement that they are not just like, you know, just like an average person, but they, for example, they are more cooler than others, for example, they would
Yeah.
go for something cruel and shitty, like what is that called? With coyote trim, Canada goose.
Canada Goose, yeah.
Canada goose, for example,
That's
it's
showing off
actually
your wealth. People who want to show off their status.
yes,
People who do
yes,
that.
exactly. So it is popular in Moscow because in Moscow people like showing their states. So Moscow is kind of like a show-off city of Russia,
Well,
where
I think that happens a lot all over the world in a lot of cities. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
unfortunate.
you're right.
As long as you
You're
have people
right.
counteracting it with protests.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You kind of right. So, and
Yeah.
what else? So yeah, so some people do wear like some dawn, you know, for example, with coyote trim. Yeah,
Okay.
but majority of people wear something synthetic for sure. Because yes, it's practical, it's comfortable, it's cheap, and again, for example, no
It's more
animals involved.
lightweight. It's more
And
lightweight. It's
lightweight,
cheaper. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lightweight,
It's
yeah,
cheaper.
and lightweight. Yeah,
Okay.
but the
So
point
we're
yeah, the point about
go-
fur, it is not popular because first of all, it is very expensive. So people take a credit, believe it or not, people take a credit to buy fur coat. which is which is which sounds like super dumb. And secondly, more and more people, they start understanding that, well, it's really cruel because, for example, for one coat you will have, like, I know, several foxes killed, or maybe 100 of minks killed, and not everybody can
Yeah.
digest it. So people are moving away from it. And I think there is a great achievement which comes from famous brands, luxury brands and other famous brands, like, even Guess, for example. Yeah, like, say, they stop production of any fur coats, again, mass market brands like H&M, Zara, they don't make anything from fur. Leather, though, people still do wear leather, but year by year, I see that consumption of leather is going down. But still, people do wear because, again, there are still things that people still believe in, stereotypical things that, like, oh, leather is maybe stronger or better waterproofing it has,
Shoes
which
and
which
motorcycle
is not at
jackets and
all.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and every time when I see people wearing how is it called, like leather sneakers or leather shoes in the winter, and they start very often in the winter in Moscow, they start complaining because we, unfortunately, because of how's it, global warming, we don't have, like, really good winters. Only this winter was an exceptional winter with snow, cold, and everything. But previous years, no, they were like terrible winters. But in Moscow, they have, such a policy. They don't like cleaning. We have a mayor who has been, I think, for 10 years around. Yeah, and they don't like cleaning the streets. What they do instead, they just take salt and spray a lot of salt, and then all the snow
Oh,
and
salt
ice.
will ruin leather.
Yes, 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 yes. At all time when somebody complains to me that, oh, I hate this winter because there is so much salt and chemicals on the streets,
Yeah.
and my shoes, they look so bad, they die very fast. And I always tell, like, look, why do you wear any leather even? Like, look, it's kind of nonsensical because salt destroys leather. Even, I mean, if you are not into, a kind of like animal rights at all, and you don't care what happens with animals, just look at this from a logical standpoint. Yeah, like, you wear such
They're paying
materials.
more for the product and they're wearing it
Yes,
less time because
yes,
it's
yes, yes.
breaking down easier.
And it
Yeah.
looks ugly. It looks ugly. Unfortunately, not
Yeah.
all people understand that animals suffer. Some people,
Yeah.
unfortunately, have no idea about it or don't want to have an idea about it. So, but I mean, on another hand, I always think, like, why not to try from another side? Yeah. And then I told them, like, look, I have, for example, I have synthetic shoes which I can wear for years. For example, like, I like this type of shoes. Maybe it's like a Canadian brand called Native, and they make some winter boots, and stuff, but
Yeah.
from EVA, like Crocs. Yeah, and they're, like, super durable. And no matter how much salt you have around you, even like if cars spray you every time with salt, nothing
My
happens with
color.
those
Yeah.
boots. And they are PETA approved. This brand is PETA approved
Yeah.
even. So I'm happy to wear this stuff, and I don't need to waste my money every year, on a new pair of shoes. So
Yeah.
happy with my black boots, kind of thing. So yeah, this is what's up with leather and fur in Russia.
Well, that's good to hear.
Decreasing.
So listen, we've been on here for quite a while now. So
Yeah, you're right.
it's been about an hour and 40 minutes. So I'd like to wrap up with a couple more
Sure.
questions for you, real quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
and then we can go ahead and say goodnight. Because I know it's late for you. We didn't get started with you until it was after 11 o'clock. So
Yeah,
at
I guess
night.
it's like kind of like 12:40 in my place now.
Yeah, I was going to say it's getting close to
Already
1
morning.
a.m. for you.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask you, if a vegan visits Russia, where should they go, or Moscow, I should say, because Russia is huge. But let's ask you
Russia
in
is
Moscow.
huge.
Yeah. So if a vegan visits Moscow, where should they go? And what is your favorite vegan dish they should try? And
Right.
how
Look.
can they get
Uh-huh.
involved in the local vegan community there?
Oh yeah. So look, I think the answer is pretty like simple. So like as in most of like countries, like you shouldn't worry about like visiting Moscow if you're vegan. So you will find many restaurants. They think it's super simple. You just open Google Maps and write vegan, and it will show you vegan restaurants. I think maybe there are like 15 or 20 vegan restaurants around Moscow, so you will never have like troubles
Awesome.
with choice. You will find anything. I think the only thing which is missing in Moscow vegan is donuts. I don't know why it's a big question for me because I
I'm
love
not a
vegan
big
donuts.
donut fan, so that never bothers me. But
I'm
I
I
know
am
other
a
people
big
that are just fanatical about it. So
I
it's
am
funny.
fanatical, and my son is fanatical about vegan donuts. Even can cry if no donuts available.
I
Uh,
never liked
but
donuts when I wasn't vegan. So
Europe spoiled us with vegan donuts. They everywhere in Europe they have vegan donuts in every big city. Like some kind
I
of
know most
chocolate
people are
donut.
probably looking at me right now going, "Blasphemer! You're a blasphemer. We love donuts."
Exactly, exactly, yeah. But in Moscow
But
there
what
is a
is your
problem.
favorite vegan dish they should try there?
I think it is vegan glazed cheese. Vegan. Didn't you know what glazed cheese is?
Say
Glazed
that one
cheese.
more time. Glazed
Glazed glazed cheese.
glazed cheese.
Yes, exactly.
I
You got it right.
cannot say I know what that is. What is
Look, let
glazed
me let
cheese?
me tell you. Let me tell you. So,
Uh,
basically, to make this stuff, you take like I think simple ingredients. So you need cottage cheese, you need butter, and sugar. Then you basically blend them in together, and you make some kind of bar out of it. And this bar, you
oh,
you glaze it with chocolate glazing you put on it.
so like
So
an eclair in a way.
I don't know what the eclair is, but like probably
Well, that sounds really interesting, and I'm going to have to try
it
and
is.
make that because
It
that
it
sounds like
it is.
so incredibly decadent and wrong that I want to eat it.
It is wrong. It is wrong, and it's junk, true junk food. But come on,
And
like if you
that's why
want to
I
please
want it.
yourself, yeah. I would recommend you actually. You said you have never tried snowboarding. I would recommend you to,
If I'm
never
looking
say
to commit
never.
suicide, I think I should just make a whole batch of that and just die
Yes,
by
yes, yes.
it.
So I would recommend you, 2021 style, try something new. Say, make this like batch of glazed cheese bars
I
and
have
start
to
doing,
try that.
yeah, and start doing snowboarding, and they're so good at the snowboarding.
You know
Man,
I'm
it's just
scared of
like
snowboarding. We
I,
talked
I I
about that
almost
before.
I almost every time I snowboarding I eat glazed cheese. Go to a shop, buy it, and vegan glazed cheese. So yeah, in
Oh,
Russia it's super popular
Igor,
thing.
do me a favor, and send me a
Yeah.
recipe for glazed cheese. I'm
Oh,
serious.
okay.
I
I'll
am
try
going to
to Google.
try
Yeah,
that. I am going to try that out.
you got it right.
I am
You got
definitely
it right.
going to
It's
try
very
that.
very popular in here.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a final question.
Mm.
Let's see. Wait a minute. Dish they. Oh, all right. So finally, this is what I ask everybody, and it gives me an idea who I should interview next. Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
where would you like to visit one day? And I know you've traveled, but where would you like to visit that you've never been before and learn about veganism there?
Look, it's kind of like simple and trivial. Like I want to go. Well, I think there are several places I have never been to, but I want to visit. So one of them is Tibet. Another one is Japan.
They are
I
on
really
my
want
list,
to.
actually.
Yes, yes. I want to go to Japan and explore their, like soups, rice, and all this thing, like fermented maybe something, and do snowboarding there. And the other places on my list are the US and Canada. And no joke, I have never been to the US. Like I have been to the UK, I have been to Australia, but I've
I
I've
know
never
you've
been
traveled
to
around.
the US. Yeah,
I
but
would
never the
invite
US.
you to the US, but where I live at would be one of the most boring places for you to visit in the US, or else I would be willing to host you. It's just it would be a waste of your time,
Oh, that's so
honestly.
sweet. If I'm traveling, like maybe I will travel. I don't know. We're actually
If
going
you
to
need
go
an
this
overnight
summer.
stay over, I'd be happy to host you, but don't
Oh,
waste a
that's so
week
sweet.
here, okay?
Indiana, you said. Indiana, you said.
No, I live in Ohio. I live in
Ohio. Okay.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh,
And
Cincinnati.
it's getting
Right.
better here, but as far as like if you're going to take a trip from across the world to the United States, don't waste your time in this city. It's
Right.
fine.
I get
Like
it.
go to someplace like New Orleans, Atlanta, New York,
Right.
someplace better, but I mean, not I know people in Cincinnati are going to hate me for that, but I'm sorry. I grew up here. I can say that shit.
I
So
understand. I understand. I trust you on that. I totally trust you on that.
so
So yeah, I actually wanted to travel with my family like last year, last summer or spring, and we
yeah.
got an American visa. By the way, if you're not from the US, especially like you're from Russia, it's mega hard to get American visa, and it is
Oh,
very expensive. Also, they charge like I think they charged us like something like about $500 a person just
wow.
for visa. Yeah, and they can
Wow.
say no, and they can say no. They
Yeah.
let's say they don't
And
like
then
you
they
or
charge
something.
you anyway, right?
Anyway, yeah, first you pay, and then it's like a
See,
like
that's
you're lucky or
that ain't
unlucky.
right.
So it's kind of like a business. Russia does the same with other countries. It's set and it is business. Yeah, but then COVID broke all our plans, unfortunately. So because we even had tickets, but the
Yeah.
airline company, they even like came forward and they were like, we're giving money back to everybody.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Well, at
but
least
now
you got that straight.
now I'm not afraid to travel to the US because I have had COVID and all my family, and we're going to get vaccine. And so therefore we're okay with wearing masks after vaccine, it's no problem for us. So now we totally
Well, you
can.
know what? I'm just so glad that you and your family are okay. And I hope
Oh,
the thing with
thanks.
the tuberculosis treatments, I hope that goes all right. I really hope you're going to
I
be okay,
hope, I
Igor.
hope, yeah. It's treatable nowadays, so what my doctor said, I just need time and
I'm certainly
hardcore
happy that you guys are
antibiotics.
as healthy as you are right now, and that
Oh, thanks.
it wasn't
All my
that it
family is
wasn't
true
worse.
healthy, nobody except me, kind of thing.
Well, I hope you come through it okay, Igor. You know what?
Thanks,
We've been
thanks.
friends on Facebook for years, and I'm so happy I finally got the chance to speak
Oh,
with
me
you.
too.
Uh,
So
you're a very
so am I.
interesting person. You've always been a
Oh,
very interesting person,
you are as well.
but now I finally got to hear more of your story, and I am so very grateful for that. Thank you for being my guest tonight. Um,
Yeah, thank you for inviting.
is there anything else you want to say to everybody before we say goodnight?
Um, yeah, I think like yeah, I think I do want to say, yeah, like so. I think maybe one point I didn't say, or one thing I wanted to say that like yeah, again to sum up, yeah, being vegan, I think wherever you are is no problem at all. As a person who has traveled around the world, I stayed in many different places, poor and rich. I must say being vegan is easy. Yeah, like of course sometimes you want some delicatessens, and in some places they are non available. But again, food is not only delicatessens. You everybody eats
That's
bread. It's a point. Everybody eats rice and everybody eats pasta. Everybody eats some vegetables here and there, and many people love beans. So you
there
can
you go.
you can live well everywhere. And again, it's not expensive because I comparing my diet, comparing my budget. I found out that when I went vegan, my family budget dropped down 50%
Wow,
altogether. And
that's
yes,
great.
and I started saving 50% on from every week, from every month. And you know what I can say? I started saving so much money a year that it's enough to fly from from my city,
To
from Russia,
travel.
to Sydney in Australia.
Wow.
Both ways, and you also can rent a car for 3 weeks for driving around the country. It will not cover your accommodation, and it will not cover your food. But come on, it's a lot of money, I must say.
Well, I
So
think
I
I
even
think
started
that
traveling
is
more.
I think that's a fantastic note to end on. And my earphones are about to go dead, so we're in a good place here. So,
Yeah,
Igor,
yeah,
thank
I
you
did.
so much.
Yeah,
Let's
welcome.
keep in
Thank you
touch,
too.
okay? My
Keep in touch.
best
Yeah,
to you
obviously.
and your family. My best to you and your family,
Thanks.
okay?
Thanks.
I'm gonna say goodnight to you, okay?
Yeah, good night. Good night. Have a lovely
All right.
time.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you're
Bye
welcome.
bye.
Bye bye.
All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap this up because my earphones are about to go dead. I don't know if that's going to change anything. So I so appreciate Igor being on here. It was so fantastic to meet him. God, he's an interesting guy. Really great guy. So fascinating to hear about his life at his life over there in Moscow, Russia. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next Wednesday, I have another guest lined up from Brazil, and he's a well-known activist and a YouTuber. So I do hope you'll look out for that and join me then. For the people that hung out and the questions, thank you guys. If I didn't get your questions, it's just me. I'm trying to stay involved with my guests, so please forgive me for that. I hope I got to everybody. Everybody that stayed around, I love you guys. Bye.